let's take a look at the character of Isaac. Isaac in Genesis 25:21 says that Isaac pleaded on behalf of his wife. He knew how to get the ear of God. So he pleaded, not on his behalf, but on behalf of his wife, so that her barrenness would be removed. And that's very powerful because that tells you how powerful your prayer is as husbands, as head of the household, to the Lord. So here's just a quick second question. I only got about 5 minutes. I know my wife is going to wheel me in, but I want to try to unpack this as quick as possible. Husbands or couples, are you spending time in prayer and in supplication to the Lord? Men especially, head of the household, are you interceding on behalf of your wife? Are you seeking God diligently in prayer, or are you just letting things go by the flow, just letting it flow on? Which means, are you saying, honey, let's try this. Okay, that don't work. Okay, let's try this. Okay, that don't work. Okay, honey, let's try this. Because you're doing it all on your own strength. That's not where God intended us to be. Every time we do it on our own strength, we fail. And once we get tired of failing, then we get frustrated. And so this is the approach that Isaac had. He knew how to get the ear of God. Now Jacob, in Genesis 30:2, identified that God is the only creator of life. The only creator of life. So no matter what direction you go into increase your family, God is the one who gives the increase and the blessing. Now, I don't know if you know the history of Abraham, but Abraham received the promise that Sarah would have the baby. The promise came to Abraham. The blessing came through Sarah. You understand? So, husbands, you have a very important role in doing this. Now, I want to look really quick at the leaders, because we said life. We just explained life. I want to explain leaders really quick. Okay. Gotta check my wife over there. I gotta, stay in check.
That's right.
Sarah, who was barren at 90, birthed a son named Isaac. Okay, Isaac, again, one of the fathers of the one of the founding fathers. He was a strong leader, and he was a strong follower of God. He was also very wealthy, and he had a wife named Rebekah. Now, I mentioned briefly that Isaac was the one who knew how to get the ear of God, so he prayed on his wife's behalf, and she had not one but two. So be careful how you pray, husbands. You may pray for one, you may get three.
You may.
You just don't know.
That's what we
and
got.
so she bare a son. She bare two sons, Esau and Jacob. And through the loins of Jacob, God created the 12 tribes of Israel. But Jacob also married Rachel. Matter of fact, Jacob married sisters. Now, I got to stop here for a minute, because he had to marry Leah in order to get Rachel. Now, how many of you brothers would marry your sister-in-law before you get your sister? Before you get your wife? How many would do it? I know you ain't going to raise your hand.
You better
but
not.
To me, that's like buying the cow just to get the milk. I don't want the cow. I just want the milk. Matter of fact, I only want 2% because I'm a 2% milk drinker. Right. So if my wife had 3 sisters, I would have to marry her. That sister, that sister, that sister, in order to get my wife. And so, I probably would have circumvented that whole thing. I would have said, honey, I'm going to marry you. Take her, go to another country, get married, and come back and say, forgive me, I've sinned. But you know what? I would have interfered with God's plan, because God had a plan and a purpose. The 12 tribes of Israel was developed not only from his wife Rachel, but from Leah and their maidservant. So even though we didn't see the plan, even though we didn't understand why God had Jacob marry Leah first and then marry the sister, God knew what the plan was. So what I'm saying is, you may not know what your plan is right now while you're going through this season, and it is a season, because there are many women other than this who were barren at a period of time, and they are no longer barren. You may not know why you're going through it, but you have to trust and believe that God is bringing you through, and he has it for a reason. So what posture should we have? What is the posture that we should have? And some of this may be fundamental to some of you. We should have a posture like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham was humble. Isaac knew how to get the ear of God, so he knew how to pray. And Jacob believed that God was the only one, so he had faith. So we should be a people of prayer, people of humility, people of prayer, and a people of faith. Because the enemy will tell you that you are barren. But God is telling you that my best work is done through barrenness. Amen?
Amen.
turn it back over to my beloved wife.